Join us for 7:30 News Bulletin. My name is Fales Chizombe. The top stories. Pope Leo XIV consoles families affected by New Year's Day fire in Clow, Montana. Human Rights Consultative Committee urges respect for court orders in Richard Banda's case. Economic expert urges government to exercise fiscal discipline to escape debt. And in our exclusive report this week, Emmanuel Chocha examines President Arthur Peter Mutharika's first 100 days back in office, a period defined by swift policy shifts, bold promises, early reforms, and rising public expectations. We have more stories coming up. Stay with us. Pope Leo XIV met at the Vatican with family members of those killed and injured in the tragic fire that struck Cairns, Montana, Switzerland on New Year's Day, offering words of faith, consolation, and hope. Pope Leo said he was deeply moved by their suffering and expressed his desire to be close to them in a moment that truly tests human faith and strength. Swiss police reported that at least 40 people lost their lives and 119 others were injured after a fire and explosion broke out in a bar during crowded New Year celebrations at the ski resort. We have a Vatican News report read by Patrick Pupa.
Pope Leo XIV has expressed deep sorrow over the tragedy, lamenting that it occurred on a day meant for joy, hope, and new beginnings. Acknowledging the limits of human words in the face of such suffering, the Pope said true consolation can only be found in Christ, recalling Jesus' cry on the cross as he fully shared in human pain. He pointed to the resurrection as God's powerful response to suffering and death, assuring the families that their hope is not in vain because Christ is truly risen. The Holy Father said he could not only explain why such a trial had touched their families, but assured them that nothing can separate them or their loved ones from the love of Christ. He emphasized that faith can illuminate even the darkest moments, giving strength to persevere with the trust in God's promises. Pope Leo XIV assured the families of his personal prayers for the deceased, healing for the injured, and the strength for those caring for them, adding that the entire church stands with them in prayer and compassion. Entrusting the families to Mary, Our Lady of Sorrow, the Pope led them in prayer and imparted his apostolic blessings.
The Human Rights Consultative Committee, HRCC, has called on state authorities to fully comply with court orders in the case involving Malawi Congress Party Secretary General Richard Banda. HRCC chairperson Robert Nkwezalamba told journalists today in Lilongwe that court decisions remain binding and enforceable unless they are lawfully stayed, varied, or set aside by a competent court. He was speaking after the High Court Civil Division ordered Banda's unconditional release despite an area bail hearing being scheduled by the Criminal Division. Nkwezalamba explains.
Thank you very much. I think the main call that we are making is to appeal to authorities, that's starting from top government officials, law enforcement agencies like the police and the prisons, to respect the determination of the court. Malawi is a nation founded on rules, and as such, we have to respect decisions that have been made by the High Court concerning the matter of Richard Banda. We are saying this in the spirit that we have followed the developments that have happened. When he was arrested, he applied for bail. Whilst he was waiting for bail, he went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court threw him away to say, no, you can't come here because there is no pronouncement from the High Court. So he went back to the High Court and he approached the Criminal Department Division of the Court, Civil Division of the Court, where he has been given unconditional bail. And we do understand that there are concerns out there. People are raising so many issues because the Criminal Division had issued notice that it would deliver its determination on the 20th of January. But before that, that's when we have this unconditional release of Honorable Chimwendo. And to an extent, some people are speculating that perhaps the government would want to re-arrest him. So we are saying the nation and government and law authorities should respect the decision of the court. If at all they are aggrieved by the decision of the learned judge, let them follow the due process, and that includes appealing to the relevant court before the judge. If not satisfied, they can go to the High Court to challenge the same, but not to abuse the court process as a means of punishing individuals.
Economic expert Chris Mboka has urged government to live within its means and strengthen fiscal discipline, warning that overspending beyond approved budget, weak debt management, and slow economic growth are key drivers of the country's rising debt levels. Mboka was commenting on the sharp rise in domestic debt, which has increased from 40% in 2023 to 65% in 2026. We have more in this report, followed by Gift Kalunga.
In an interview with Luntha TV, Mbuku advised government to live within its means by avoiding over-expenditure and strictly adhering to budget plans approved by Parliament, noting that failure by MDAs to follow spending limits is a major cause for rising debt. He further called for restructuring of existing debts, especially domestic debt, which he said has become too costly, urging authorities to engage creditors and banks to adjust repayment terms in order to ease pressure on public finances. Mbukwa also emphasized need to grow the economy through increased investment in key sectors such as agriculture, mining, manufacturing and tourism, saying improved productivity and expanded value chains would boost revenue and reduce resilience on borrowing.
First and foremost, there is need to live within the means. As a country, we need to arrest over expenditures. Whenever we set the annual budget, there is need that MDAs should adhere to the expenditure plan that has been endorsed by the Parliament. What really makes us to borrow more is that we spend over and above what was planned at the beginning of the financial year.
Malawi's public debt has risen to 22 trillion kwacha, with interest payments estimated at around 17%, a situation Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, Joseph Mwanamveka, has said is putting pressure on the economy and requires cautious fiscal decisions. For Luntha News, this is Gift Kalunga.
The Roads Authority has announced the substantial completion of temporary works on the Nkorakota-Dwangwa-Kasitu section M005 and the Nkorakota-Kasungu M018 road, restoring connectivity and easing mobility for road users and surrounding communities. According to Roads Authority Public Relations Officer Alice Chintochi, the final affected section at Wodzi on the M018 road has already been opened to traffic, while all other previously affected sections along both routes have been accessible for the past 1 to 2 weeks. Charity Chilanga with the details.
Chintoche said the damage experienced on these roads was significant, with washouts ranging from 20 meters to 80 meters, involving a total of 10 major openings along the affected corridors. She said the completion of temporary works has successfully restored safe passage and improved the flow of traffic. Jintoji expressed appreciation to all stakeholders and the public for their patience and cooperation, which made the restoration possible.
The temporary emergency works on the Nkota-Kota-Dwangwa-Kasintu section of the M5 road and the Nkota-Kota-Kasungu road, which is the M18, have been completed. The final affected section at Wozi on the Nkota-Kota-Kasungu road will be open today. All the other sections along both roads have already been opened in the past 1 or 2 weeks. We had quite extensive damages on the two road sections, ranging from 20 meters to 80 meters, and we had at least a total of 10 major openings along the two roads.
Jintoji added that while temporary works have addressed the immediate disruptions, further improvements and permanent repairs will continue in accordance with established engineering and funding processes.
You are still watching news on Luntha television with me, Falis Chizombi. Another look at our top stories before we proceed. Pope Leo XIV consoles families affected by New Year's Day fire in Clow, Montana. Human Rights Consultative Committee urges respect for court orders in Richard Mwendo-Banda's case. Economic expert urges government to exercise fiscal discipline to escape debt. And in our exclusive report this week, Emmanuel Chocha examines President Arthur Peter Mutharika's first 100 days back in office, a period defined by swift policy shifts, bold promises, early reforms, and rising public expectations. Minister of Homeland Security Peter Mkito has expressed hope that the strengthening of birth registration can be a critical step in protecting children from trafficking and exploitation. Speaking in Lilongwe on Friday as he officially launched the National Birth Registration Campaign, Mkito said children who are not legally registered are more exposed to trafficking and abuse, stressing that birth certificates provide a vital form of identity and protection. Tandem Zumara has more details.
According to Mkito, children under the age of 16 in Malawi are estimated to be around 4.6 million, and these are unregistered and do not have any legal identity documents. He noted that due to the absence of identity documents, the children are facing challenges in accessing essential services, risk of exploitation, child labor, and are excluded from social and economic activities. He added that the campaign will help the country to have accurate data for development planning, budgeting and policy formulation, among others.
The struggle to access basic services such as education, healthcare, and social support. They become more vulnerable to early marriage, child labor, trafficking, and abuse. They also face exclusion later in life when they need proof of age for school. Employment or natural services. The gap also affects our country. It weakens the accuracy of our national population register and makes nation planning more difficult.
The National Birth Registration Campaign will be conducted in 25 districts of the country and in 7 phases. NRB needs about 17.8 billion Malawi kwacha to conduct the campaign smoothly, and so far government has already allocated 5.4 billion Malawi kwacha in the 2025-2026 financial year, which will cover the first 2 phases. For Luntha News, this is Thandiwe Mzumara.
Deputy Minister of Health and Sanitation Charles Chilambula has assured flood survivors in Nkota-Kota that the government is working to prevent the spread of waterborne diseases in camps following heavy rains that displaced people. Speaking to Luntha television, Chilambula said overcrowding and limited supplies remain key concerns at Nkunga and Kabiza camps. Charity Chilanga with the details.
Chilambula revealed that people in Kabiza camp come from areas resembling an island, making relocation a challenge. He added that at Nkunga, relocation back to homes may be possible in the shortest period. The Deputy Minister said health workers, especially health surveillance assistants HSAs, are delivering services directly in the camps. He cautioned that overcrowding increases the risk of waterborne diseases, including cholera, urging residents to use toilets provided by the Department of Disaster Management Affairs Dodma and Nkota District Council. Chilambula added that while cholera is affecting other districts, Nkota has not reported any cases yet.
Yeah, as you know, when people are staying at one place where there is overcrowding, risk of many diseases, which include the waterborne diseases and others, is high. So, especially cholera, we have encouraged them to use the toilets, which we have provided through the Dodima and the Nkota District Council. So it's very good for them to practice good hygiene and be able to prevent these diseases, as well as to use the mosquito nets, which are going to be provided the right way. So this will help us so that we can be able to prevent a number of diseases which can be waterborne.
Meanwhile, Lilongwe District Commissioner Benny Matengeri Tono described the situation in the district as severe, noting that over 400 people remain in camps, while more than 30,000 residents across the district have been affected by the floods.
The situation is very bad in the district. We had floods that came as a result of rainfall, too much rainfall that we had from 28th December. So most of the people that you see in these camps, they were displaced from the areas that they were staying. So we have to keep them in the camp. So you know, life in a camp is not that good. It's quite very difficult. They need food, they need medical attention and everything. So it's quite a very bad situation that we are facing in the district.
Nkota District experienced excessive rainfall starting 28th December 2025, which led to widespread flooding and displacement. The government says it is actively providing humanitarian support, including food, bedding, among others, to mitigate the impact on affected communities.
The expert George Jobe has welcomed engagement by the Ministry of Health on the recently announced Memorandum of Understanding between the Government of Malawi and the United States government, urging greater transparency and inclusion of civil society. Speaking on behalf of the Malawi Health Equity Network, Jobe said the network sought clarification from the Ministry of Health to better understand the scope, condition, and operational modalities of the agreement or the benefit of stakeholders and the public. Jobe said the Minister of Health, through the Secretary of Health, clarified that the MOU is intended to strengthen government-to-government cooperation, allowing the U.S. government to work more directly with Malawi's public health systems. He added that the ministry indicated similar arrangements have existed in the past, including support for human resources for health recruitment and other mechanisms implemented through direct government and engagement. Joby explains.
As Malawi Health Equity Network, which is also the chair of Universal Health Coverage Coalition in Malawi, we have noted growing public and stakeholder interest regarding the recently announced Health Cooperation Memorandum of Understanding MOU between the Malawi government and the United States government. What we did was to contact the Ministry of Health to seek some clarification on the content of the MOU, what conditions are there, and operational modalities, so that our stakeholders, including network members, informed of what is there. And we appreciate the response by the Minister of Health through the Secretary for Health, which has been given to us. And it says that the MOU is about the U.S. government intending to work more directly with the government of Malawi through what is called government-to-government arrangement. And also, the ministry said there have been some past examples of similar arrangements, including direct support towards human resources for health, recruitment, and also other mechanisms where there was government-to-government arrangement mechanisms in the past.
Days ago, Malawi's 85-year-old Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika was sworn in here as the country's 7th president, marking a dramatic return to State House after 5 years in political opposition. His victory in the September 2025 election followed months of intense national debate driven by economic hardship, food insecurity, fuel shortages, and growing public frustration. In our exclusive report this week, Emmanuel Chocha examines President Arthur Peter Mutharika's first 100 days back in office, a period defined by swift policy shifts, bold promises, airy reforms, and rising public expectations.
From the outset, President Mutharika moved to distinguish his new administration from the recent past, issuing stern warnings against corruption and preaching discipline, efficiency, and results in government. Since his swearing in on October 4, 2005, the president has rolled out what his administration described as a wide range of reforms across key sectors, with a strong focus on economy recovery and service delivery. Measures aimed at easing inflation are beginning to show early results. Prices of stable commodities such as maize and cooking oil have recorded modest reduction in several markets. Economic analysts say while the gains remain fragile, they signal a possible pathway towards macroeconomic stabilization after prolonged turbulence.
It's very important because then what we consider as food becomes a little cheaper and more accessible because it's a public entity, and normally they will price them not necessarily with a mind of business. So that's a good thing. And also, in general, it contributes to the welfare of Malawians, but also the general development of the country.
When President Mutharika returned to office following a landslide victory, he inherited long queues and persistent shortage, a situation widely blamed on the previous administration government-to-government fuel procurement system. Unlike last year's disruption, fuel stations across the country are now reporting steady and predictable supplies, offering relief to commuters, transporters. Unlike last year's disruption, fuel stations across the country are now reporting steady and predictable supplies, offering relief to commuters, transport operators, and businesses. Government officials say revised procurement mechanism and improved forex management have contributed to the turnaround. In a move welcomed by many households, the government has expanded access to education by rolling out free secondary education. The initiative, which took effect in January this year, is aimed at easing financial pressure on families while boosting school retention.
The free secondary education will increase access and promote equity, especially if you consider those that eventually dropped out because they were incapable of paying requisite fees. Will not be able to learn without impediment. So that will translate into completion, high completion rate, as it were. It will also bridge the gap because the most affected are poor students from poor backgrounds who will then be guaranteed of the right to education. So I think it has a positive impact.
As part of efforts to avert hunger, over 100,000 tons of maize imported from Zambia are now reaching Malawi. The intervention comes after consecutive years of drought and economic strains that left millions food insecure. President Mutharika's administration has framed its recovery agenda around what it calls 4Fs strategies: food, fuel, fertilizer, and forex, designed to stabilize
livelihoods, and restore investors' confidence.
Not a feast. Government is not a political party. Government is not a nightclub. Being in government is about serving the people. To change our situation, to create jobs, and to help everyone prosper in their businesses, farming, or education.
The government has also re-engaged international financial institutions and development partners, signaling a renewed commitment to transparency, fiscal discipline, and economic reforms. Civil society organizations and political analysts say the administration has shown visible momentum, but cautioned the early gains must be matched with accountability. While some praised the speedy and impact of reforms, particularly fuel availability and food security, others warned that decisive leadership must still respect democratic checks and balances. A panel of public administration experts has given the president a mixed but courteousy positive assessment, applauding progress in energy and food security while flagging governance concern. Ordinary Malawians are also weighing in. Some say the government has helped to ease cost pressure and restore the availability of essential goods. Others argue that job creation, youth unemployment, and deeper structural reforms remain resolved. As President Muntaliga enters his second 100 days in office, key priorities roam large: strengthening the economy, sustain food security, attracting investment, and maintaining dialogue with civil society. Analysts say continued focus on education, health services, economic diversification will be critical if early momentum is to translate into long-term stability and inclusive growth.
Concludes our today's news bulletin. Before we go, another look at our top stories. Pope Leo XIV consoles families affected by New Year's Day fire in Clow, Montana. Human Rights Consultative Committee urges respect for court orders in Richard Mwendobanda's case. Economic expert urges government to exercise fiscal discipline to escape debt. And in our exclusive report this week, Emmanuel Chocha examines President Arthur Peter Mutharika's first 100 days back in office, a period defined by swift policy shifts, bold promises, early reforms, and rising public expectations. So much for watching, and don't forget to tune in for the rest of our programs here on Luntha Television. Stay safe and goodbye.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom